Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all having a good day. This isn't a fact, but I think no one here would object when I say music is something we all love. Like, we all have that at least one song that gives us the feels or makes us pop. Today, I want to include this thing we all seem to adore in our lesson. I'm not gonna sing if that's what you're thinking. Trust me, you don't want that. But I will be presenting lyrics of songs you might be familiar with to aid us in our lesson. Okay. So here are some lyrics. Miss Patricia, please read the first one.
If only I could read the signs in front of me, I could find the way to who I meant to be. Oh, oh, if only, yeah, am I crazy? Maybe we could happen, yeah, by Descendants Cast.
Okay, thank you. Miss Fernanda, please, the second one.
Let's talk this over. It's not like we're dead. Was it something I did? Was it something you said?
Okay, thank you. And our last one is by Taylor Swift. In the middle of the night, in my dreams, I know I'm gonna be with you, so I'll take my time. Okay, now, what do you notice about these lyrics? Yes, Miss Patricia.
They all have questions, Puser.
And what is something similar among the questions in them?
They all begin with B verbs po.
Okay, so the questions in these lyrics all have be verbs. What are be verbs? Am, is, are, was, were. These are be verbs. Let's have a look at each of them. Okay, so here we have from the first one, am I crazy? Then from the second one, was it something I did? And for the third one is, are you ready for it? Now I want you to look at these questions and study them. Which one's the subject, which one's the be verb, and the rest of the sentence. And I want you to tell me, what do you think is the format for questions with be verbs? Yes, Miss Atalia.
Be verb plus subject plus the rest of the sentence po.
Okay, so you start. Let's see. Oh, so to make a question using the verb be, the verb goes before the subject. So you're right. It's be verb plus subject, then followed by the rest of your sentence. So we see here, uh, am I crazy? Am, that is your be verb, I your subject, and crazy. And next we have, was it something I did? Was the be verb, it the subject, followed by the rest of your question, something I said. And are you ready for it? Are your be verb, you your subject, and ready for it the rest of your sentence. Okay, now here are some declarative sentences that I want you to turn them into questions with be verbs. Okay, for the first one, these shoes are on sale. Miss Patricia, please go ahead.
Are these shoes on sale?
Okay, very good. So that is, you begin with are, which is the be verb of the sentence, followed by these shoes, your subject, and then on sale, the rest of your sentence. Miss Fernando, the second one, please.
Um, is paint hard to remove on clothes?
Is paint hard to remove on clothes? Yes. So that is your be verb, paint your subject, and hard to remove on clothes, the rest of your question. So do you understand how questions with be verbs are made?
Yes po.
Yes, Puser.
Okay, so let's let's make some questions. I'll start. You will come up with a sentence after me, okay? Okay, for my sentence, were you here yesterday? So that is were, our be verb, you the subject, and then hear yesterday the rest of my question. How about you, Miss Patricia? Please give us your sentence.
Is Spanish hard to learn?
Is Spanish hard to learn? Okay, so that is your B verb, Spanish, your subject, and hard to learn the rest of your questions. How about you, Miss Athalia?
Um, is the movie good?
Is the movie good? So that is your B verb, the movie, your subject, and good, the rest of your question. Okay, so is everything clear?
Yes, sir.
So I guess we can now move on to our next set of lyrics. Okay, so here they are. Miss Atalia, would you like to read the first one?
And with every step together, we just keep on getting better. So, can I have this dance? Can I have this dance?
Okay, thank you. Miss Patricia, please read the second one.
Sorry, sir, I can't see the presentation.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, so I'll read on your behalf.
Okay po, sir, sorry.
Even if I knew my place, should I leave it there? Should I give up or should I just keep chasing pavements, even if it leads nowhere? By Adele. And our last one, I'll say, will you marry me? I swear that I will mean it. I'll say, will you marry me? Singing, oh, oh, oh. Okay, so now for these lyrics, what do you notice about the questions in them, Miss Atalia?
They all begin po with auxiliary verbs.
Okay, so for our first three lyrics, they begin with B verbs. M is, are, was, were. Now for this set, they begin with auxiliary verbs. What are auxiliary verbs? Auxiliary verbs are verbs that in a sentence come together with a main verb. Their function is to help the main verb fulfill their function. So can, could, shall, should, will, would, may, might, must, has, have, had, these are be verbs. And in a sentence, they function together with a main verb. For example, I should leave. So that is should, your auxiliary verb, and leave, your main verb. There. So there. That is how auxiliary verbs are used in a sentence. Now let's look at the segments of questions in this set of lyrics. So there for the first one, can I have this dance? For the second one, should I give up? And for the third one, will you marry me? Now I want you to do the same thing you did before, to study these sentences and tell me, what do you think is the format for questions with auxiliary verbs, Miss Patricia?
The format for auxiliary verb is auxiliary verb plus subject plus main verb plus the rest of the sentence po.
Okay, so let's see. So for questions including an auxiliary verb such as have, will, and could, the auxiliary verb goes before the subject. The main verb comes after the subject. And if a question has more than one auxiliary verb, only the first one moves. Okay, like in this like in these sentences, can I have this dance? You begin with your auxiliary verb, can. The same with the second one, should I give up? You begin with should, and for the third one, you begin with will. Then you follow it by the subject, and then the main verb. Okay, so that is, can I have this dance? Can, auxiliary verb, I subject, have main verb, and then this dance. Should I give up? Should, auxiliary verb, I subject, give up main verb. And then for the third one, will you marry me? Will, auxiliary verb, you subject, marry, main verb, and then me, the rest of your sentence. Okay, so now here are two declarative sentences with auxiliary verbs. And again, I want you to turn them into questions. Miss Patricia, please turn the first one into a question.
Can I perform magic?
Okay, so from I can perform magic, it becomes can I perform magic? You begin with your auxiliary verb can, Then you follow it by the subject, I, and then perform your main verb, and then magic the rest of your sentence. Miss Atalia, the second one, please.
Will he graduate next year?
Will he graduate next year? So like from he will graduate next year, that is will, your auxiliary verb, he, your subject, graduate, your main verb, and then next year, the rest of your sentence. Do you get it? Do you understand?
Yes po.
Okay, so
Yes
let's
po.
let's come up with our own sentences. I'll start. Will you come to my birthday party? So that is will, your auxiliary verb, you subject, come main verb, and then to my birthday party, the rest of your sentence. How about you, Miss Atalia? Please give us your sentence.
May I borrow your pencil?
Okay, so may I borrow your pencil? That is may, your auxiliary verb, I, your subject, borrow your main verb, and then your pencil. Miss Patricia, please go ahead.
Have you been drinking?
Not on the job. Just kidding. So, have you been drinking? That is have, your auxiliary verb, you, the subject, and then been drinking, a verb phrase. Okay, so it seems that now you understand how questions with auxiliary verbs are formed. I guess now we can move on to our final set of lyrics for today's discussion. Okay, Miss Patricia, please read the first one.
We used to be best buddies and now we're not. I wish you would tell me why. Do you want to build a snowman?
Okay, thank you. Miss Atalia, the second one.
We're only getting older, baby. And I've been thinking about it lately. Does it ever drive you crazy? Just how fast the night changes.
Okay, thank you. And for the last one, did you forget that I was even alive? Did you forget everything we ever had? Okay, for this set of lyrics, this about the questions in them. Miss Patricia,
They all begin with verbs po.
with what verb?
Do, does, and did po. Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, they begin with do verbs. The verbs do, does, and did. When do we use do, does, and did? We use do and does for sentences set in the present. Do if the subject is plural, and does if the subject is singular. Of course, with the exception of I and you, which always use do. And then we use did for sentences set in the past. Okay, now let's have a look at these sentences. For the first one, do you want to build a snowman? For the second one, does it ever drive you crazy? And for the third one, did you forget? Okay, so I want you to do the same thing we did with the last two and observe these sentences and tell me, what do you think is the format for questions uh, with do, does, and did? Miss Fernando.
Do verb plus subject plus main verb plus the rest of the sentence po.
Okay, so let's see. So for questions without the verb be or an auxiliary verb, they start with do, does, or did, and they have the main verb in their base form. Like in these questions, want, drive, and forget. They are in their basic form. Okay, so in here, do you want to build a snowman? You begin with do, followed by the subject, you, and then want, your main verb, and then the rest of your sentence. The same goes with the two. Does it ever drive you crazy? Does, do verb, it, your subject, the main verb is drive with an adverb before it, ever, then you crazy, the rest of your sentence. And the last one, did, your do verb, you, your subject, and forget. Okay, so do you get it?
Yes po.
Yes po, sir.
Okay, so again, here are two sentences. I want you to turn them into interrogative questions. Okay, so for the first one, Writers make a lot of money. Miss Patricia, please turn this sentence into a question.
Do writers make a lot of money?
Okay, so you begin with do because writers is plural, and then you proceed with the subject, the main verb, and then the rest of your question. Miss Atalia, the second one, please.
Does a coin stick to magnets?
Okay, so from a coin sticks to magnets, you have now, does a coin stick to magnets? So you begin with does because your subject is singular, a coin your subject, and your main verb, which is sticks, now becomes stick because in questions with do, does, and did, the main verbs are in their base form. So now you have, does a coin stick to magnets? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Yes po,
now
sir.
let's come up with, again, with our own sentences. Now, comprising of do, does, and did. I'll start. Did you eat my sandwich? So that is did, your do verb, you your subject, eat your main verb in its base form, and then my sandwich. Miss Patricia, please, your sentence.
Do you snore?
I don't. Do you snore? So that is do, your do verb, you your subject, and snore your main verb. Miss, that is very good. Miss Atalia, your sentence.
Do you live here?
Do you live here? So that is do, your do verb, obviously. You, your subject, live your main verb, and then here, the remainder of your sentence. So, do you understand how questions with do, does, and did are made?
Yes po.
Yes po, sir.
Okay, so here's a recap of all the rules we have discussed for today. So, Miss Patricia, please read the first one.
To make a question using the verb be, the verb goes before the subject.
Thank you, Miss Atalia, the second one.
For questions included an auxiliary verb such as have, will, and could, the auxiliary verb goes before the subject. The main verb comes after the subject. If a question has more than one auxiliary verb, only the first one moves.
Thank you. And our last rule is questions without the verb be or an auxiliary verb start with do, does, or did and have the main verb in its base form. Okay, so since our lesson began with music, I think it's fitting that we end it with as well. So let's all think of songs. Three, that uses questions that fall under the categories we discussed. One for each one. Okay, I'll go first. You can think of your songs while I'm rambling. If you want to go through your playlist, please go ahead. Okay, so for uh, B Verbs, okay, from Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Okay, so that is your uh, B verb. This your subject, and then the real life, the rest of the question. Then the same thing for the second statement in the song. Is this just fantasy? Is the be verb, this the subject, and then just fantasy. For auxiliary verb, okay, so from Colors of the Wind, from Pocahontas, have you ever heard a wolf cry to the blue corn moon? So that is have, your auxiliary verb, you your subject, and then ever heard a wolf cry to the blue corn moon, the rest of the question. And for do, does, or did, oh, do you remember by Jay Sean? Well, that's simple. Do you remember? I think that's pretty much the lyrics. Do you remember? Do you remember? So that's do, the do verb, you the subject, and remember the main verb. Okay, are you now ready for your songs? If you want to sing, please. Miss Patricia, please begin with the B verbs.
So my songs po is Crush by David Archuleta, lyrics with B verbs po. Am I crazy or falling in love? Is it real or just another crush? My
Okay, so
second
that's
song ah,
please.
my second song po is Bills, Bills, Bills by Destiny's Child. Lyrics with auxiliary verbs. Can you pay my bills? Can you pay my telephone bills? And my last song po is Deja Vu by Olivia Rodrigo. Lyrics with ano, do, does, and did. Do you get deja vu when she's with you po?
Okay, so your first one is Crush by David Archuleta. So am I think am I crazy or falling in love? Okay, so that's M, your B verb, I your subject, and then crazy or falling in love. And I think there was a second part. Crazy or is it real or just another crush? Is the B verb, it the subject, and then real or just another crush. For your second one, it's Bills, Bills, Bills by Destiny's Child. Can you pay my bills? Can you pay my telephone bills? So that is can, your auxiliary verb, you, the subject, pay uh, your main verb, and then my bills. Okay, and then the last one, Deja Vu by Olivia Rodrigo. Do you get deja vu when she's with you? So do your do verb, you the subject, and then get the main verb, and then deja vu when she's with you. Okay, that was really good. Okay, Miss Atalia, are you ready?
Yes po.
Okay, go
So,
ahead.
the first one is That's What I Like by Bruno Mars, lyrics with B verbs. Is it you? Is it me? Second, Can You Feel the Love Tonight from The Lion King, lyrics with auxiliary verbs. Can you feel the love tonight? And the third one po, Crush by David Archuleta,
Oh,
lyrics with do,
okay.
does, and did. Do you catch your breath when I look at you? Po.
Okay, so that's what I like by Bruno Mars. Is it you? Is it me? For questions with be verbs. Okay, so very simple sentences, but correct. Is the be verb, it the subject, and then you. Then is it me? Is the be verb, it the subject, and then me. The second one was Can You Feel the Love Tonight from The Lion King with the lyrics Can You Feel the Love Tonight? So that's can, your auxiliary verb, you the subject, feel the main verb, and then feel the love, feel the love tonight. Okay, and then the last one is the same song as Patricia, but a different part of the song, Crush by David Archuleta. Do you catch your breath when I look at you? So that is do, the do verb, you the subject, catch the main verb, and then your breath when I look at you, the rest of your sentence. So is everything clear?
Yes po.
Yes po, sir.
Any questions?
None po.
None po.
Okay, so if there's none, that would be all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you po, sir.
Thank you, sir.